Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Big B, Moonshine Band, Suburban Voice Records. Let's go!
I'm an outlaw. Give me 2 shots. We don't need a radio.
Right. Welcome back. Almost 37 till the top of the hour. Thanks again to Jeff Brown for Wild Hatters Q Crew, talking about the win over at the Sam's Club event this past weekend in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Also, second hour, we got Conrad Haskins, and we also have Dave Bosca from Butcher Barbecue. But notwithstanding that, we race over to the hotline and bring up monthly contributor to the show, friend of the show, Robyn Lindars. Robyn, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing absolutely fabulous, Robyn. What's happening over at grillgirl.com these days?
Well, it's always grilling season for us, but grilling season is kind of ramping up for everyone else. So I've just made 3 more webisodes, and I had Thermopin actually had some involvement with that, which was really cool. And just, busy doing a lot of freelancing stuff. I do a lot of writing, and there's some other stuff that's confidential that I can't tell you about, but in about 6 months I can tell you about. It'll be really fun to talk about.
6 months? Thanks for bringing it up now. I'll forget in 6 minutes.
I know. I have something really exciting that I'm dying to tell everyone, but I can't. So
all right, I'll turn off all the microphones. Go ahead. Just give me a little insider. Go ahead. Nobody's listening.
No, but I'll tell you soon enough.
Okay.
But and of course, getting ready for Memphis in May.
Now, we're going to get to that here in a second, Robyn, but about these webisodes, like what is it all about for there's some barbecue people here in the chat room, they're not very technically savvy. What goes into a webisode? Why are you doing it? Who are you doing it for? Is it just for the site? What's up with that?
So I'll give you the history on me doing some webisodes. As you know, my day job, I work in PR, and I just hit something on my screen. Can you see me okay?
Yes, absolutely.
So I had an article in the Miami Herald last year, and a producer reached out to me, and I had done some kind of just like YouTube-ish type stuff, like home videos for McCormick's before, and just some stuff on my own, just with a handheld camera, and this producer reached out to me and said, do you want to do some webisodes together and see if we can put something together to maybe create like a web series? And so it's actually like really high quality with like an HD camera and a whole production crew, which means you actually have to go out and find sponsors and whatnot. And it's like a production. I mean, you have like a food stylist if we have the budget for it, and hair and makeup, and just it's crazy, but it's fun and it's a lot of really good experience. So actually the goal is like eventually to put together like maybe a sizzle reel and see if we can get picked up sometime, and we'll see what happens.
Sounds exactly like this show. Makeup, hair. Oh, jeez, Pete. Well,
I know. Now that you're doing this whole like video Skype thing, I had to go put makeup on because I work from home, so it's kind of rare if I get dressed up.
Yeah, well, I had to slim down. I used to have the big cans on the ears. I've gone to the little earpiece and the thing there. So, kind of streamline it a little bit. I understand. I mean, makeup for you, it's earpieces for me, whatever.
Well, you look good, and the new site looks good, too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, and by the way, I'm sorry, we're talking with Robyn Lindars from grillgirl.com. That's GRRRL.com if you want to check that out. Are the webisodes just specific to your website? Are they going anywhere else?
What ThermoWorks will probably do is place them a lot of places because they actually are doing some commercials at the beginning of the webisode. Mm-hmm. But, just primarily for the web, and they're just video recipes. One is about, and these will probably come out in a couple months, if not like the next couple weeks. They're just in editing right now. One is about just proper internal cooking temperatures, for like fish, pork, red meat, chicken, just reaching the proper internal temperature and pulling the meat off just so you don't overcook or undercook and, wears your friends out. And then some video recipes. I actually did a grilled cocktail, which was fun, and then just my favorite wing recipe, which is my old standard favorite wing recipe. So
anything with the terms ass blaster in it.
Those wings are definitely ass blast wings, that's for sure.
All right, so we'll be looking for the webisodes, and I mean, as far as recipes, let me ask you this because I've talked to John Dawson about it. Next time I have Chris Grove on, which I'm sure we'll talk about him here in a second as well. One thing that fascinates me about bloggers, and I guess when you're in the niche, I have a little bit more of a fascination because we all like to grill and barbecue and all that stuff. But for me, sure. I go in the grocery store, and I have a list, and I shop off the list, and I would never look at like cranberries and then look, gaze delicately down the other aisle and see like a pork thing, and then there's sauerkraut in between, and all of a sudden like there's like a recipe happening. Is that something that happens with you? I mean, how do you get these recipes and the inspiration to come up with this stuff? Because you have to continually put content on the blog to keep it fresh.
No, you're right. And sometimes I'm like racking my brain and trying to like figure out, like I'm actually doing a contest on my site right now to give away an immersion blender, which is awesome for making barbecue sauce and marinades. And the requirements are just leave your favorite marinade recipe on the site to be eligible to win, because a lot of it is brainstorming for me too. And, when I get feedback from my readers, it can really inspire me on things that they're having success with. But truthfully, a lot of my recipes come from lack of planning. So I'm not always, even when I try to be very planned and try a recipe, God knows I'll go to the grocery store and forget something. And half the time my best recipes will come when I am too lazy to go to the store and just really have to come up with something, like doing my own little mini version of Chopped with myself, So, but a lot of it is too, like I read a lot of other blogs, and I look at Pinterest a lot to see food trends and things that are kind of trending. And I also try to think seasonally about what's going to be coming up, like from a season, like Easter's coming up. So I'm trying to kind of think about, all right, what do I might want to do with like lamb or ham or, a casserole, even though I never make casseroles, but, just things that might be relevant to the time of year, if I can, be organized enough to do it. And also if you can pre-plan for major events and title them accordingly on your site, for events that people might search, say like, for example, Super Bowl recipes, then you're going to get yourself more traffic based on search volume as well. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Robyn Lindars joining us here on the show from grillgirl.com. All right, Robyn, so you were down last year at Memphis in May. Your dad is one of my favorite fans ever on the face of the earth. Shout out to Eddie. And I can't believe I just said shout out. I said I would never say that, but I can make the exception for Eddie.
Shout out's a good word. There's nothing to even replace shout out.
It's so overused. It's one of the worst words ever. I hate that term, and I just fell victim to myself. So I'll give myself lashings for that after the show and when the camera's off. Also, you're going to be with Chris Grove from Nibble Me This, who writes a fantastic blog, and we'll have him on next month as a guest as well. But, you seem to become very fascinated with Memphis in May. You're going to be taking place. Is it just going to be in People's Choice? Are you actually going to go all in and compete in the Memphis in May traditional competition as well?
Well, I don't know how much I've explained this to you, but my dad and we met up with Neil, who's kind of like the pit master.
Pig master's fine.
That's a good word for that term. Of Two Sauce to Pork. We met up through my blog because I had actually talked about how it was, one of my dad's like lifelong dreams to go to Memphis in May. And so we really just joined the first year as kind of just hanging out and learning about the process. And then last year, my dad and I entered ancillary categories. He did mustard sauce and I did the coleslaw. And this year we're really taking a bigger part by doing the People's Choice. I mean, we'll be around and hanging out for ribs and the other stuff, but at the end of the day, that's kind of Neil's. Everybody kind of has their category that they do, but it's still a team effort. And at the end of it, I'm still blogging and recording as much of it as I can so I can just really, kind of share the experience with other people. And for myself, I'm trying to learn. But I think this year for us will be a lot more serious because in years past, like even though I did coleslaw last year, I mean, let's face it, I did a lot of networking and partying too. So this category is really going to, I'm going to have to be more disciplined because it's a 2-day turn-in and we're going to have to cook overnight. And we're going to be, setting a schedule for ourselves and really preparing because we want to kick ass and represent well for our team.
Wow.
So.
Sounds like zero fun when you put it like that. Oh, my goodness. Well, do you ever fancy yourself, or do you ever see yourself maybe in a year from now or 3 years from now actually taking part in the actual competition that, you would eventually be called like grand champion of pork or ribs or whole hog or anything like that?
Well, our team does ribs, and I mean, if we walk the stage, we would all walk the stage together because we're a team. So, and I think we have a pretty good chance, to tell you the truth. We did pretty well last year, and since I've been on the team, this will be my 3rd year. They seem to be doing better and better every year, and they've always done well as, they're a younger team. So I think there's a lot of potential to really kick some ass this year. And I have to give a shout out to my team members because they're really all really cool guys, and they let me join the team, and they're very much all about like supporting team karma and letting other like newbies, kind of get a feel for the experience, because Memphis in May can also be very cliquish, if you will, because it takes pardon my French, shit ton of money to compete in Memphis in May, and you really need to have a lot of sponsorships, and they've been very open about letting new people join, which I think is very cool and very representative of how awesome the barbecue community at large can be.
I don't know if it's possible, but could you possibly quantify a shit ton of money? Is that like 6 zeros, 7 zeros?
Well, I think that an entrance fee, and I'm not totally sure about this, is at least at a starting point of $4,000. And if you see some of the teams there, I mean, with the huge scaffolding, structures they build and everything, I bet that easily people spend for some of the bigger tents there, like 30 to 60 grand.
Wow.
I mean, when you see teams that are sponsored by companies like FedEx, you've got to wonder, like, wow, this is serious business, So.
Yeah, that's some huge money. I mean, it looked like Two Sauce to Pork is in the chat room, said that they spent $11,000 last year. I mean, that is some huge money. There's a lot of KCBS competitions that don't even pay out half that during the course of a weekend. So I can't imagine dropping $11,000 and then walking away without any money to recoup that expense. That's got to hurt.
Exactly, and because of the cost, it also really kind of I would say makes it very hard to compete. Not everyone's, even if they're a really awesome barbecue person or competitor, I mean, that's a pretty hefty price tag. So I think that Two Sauce to Pork has the model that's working for them and probably could be copied by other teams because they've been successful and they've let new people, from other regional barbecue teams join in. Like, even though they're a Memphis-based team, they've had people from New England barbecue associations come in. I mean, my dad represents South Carolina Barbecue Association. I represent the FBA. So it's very diverse, which I think is super cool.
Absolutely, so. Robyn.
And one thing I have to mention, too, is that we are trying out the Grilla pellet smoker this year. They're kind of testing out competition barbecue on us. Which I think is neat because I've never used one before, and I keep hearing, really good things about pellet smokers. So I think it'll be cool to see it in action.
Well, I mean,
see how it does on the circuit.
I have had one probably for the last 4.5 months. I've actually kind of had to come out of the closet because I was one of those guys that thought pellet cookers were kind of cheating, especially for the backyard person. And after I realized that I was immediately in love with the cooker, I had to come clean the next show. And look, I mean, who doesn't like having a lot of space? It's a very unique shaped item. It's got the sliding hood instead of the lift-up hood. It's got a nice 20-pound hopper. It's got the thermostatic. I mean, you plug it in, you turn it on, you put the foil over the deflector shield, and then you go ahead and get your stuff prepped and ready to go on there while it's getting up the temperature. I mean, the thing couldn't be any easier to work. And it gets a lot of airtime here, not because they've never asked me to talk about it once. They just want me to give them feedback. But I like talking about it because I'm so happy with the product. Have you actually been around it at all and used it?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
so I'm
you're
excited.
Gonna love it. I mean,
and, my dad has a Traeger, but I've been a little bit skeptical, I have to say, because I don't know. I love my egg and I love my Weber, and I'm kind of hardcore about my 2 grills. So
for as easy as the Big Green Egg is to fire up and keep at temperature, This one is 5,000 times easier. So, we like to play with fire, and we like to see fire happen and all that. And you still get to see all that with the Grilla, because on the front, a little windshield, you can see when the fire pot stokes up, and you have the Grilla logo with fire coming behind it, so you still satisfy the pyromania within you. But it does take a lot of error away, and it imparts a nice smoke flavor. So I'm a big fan of it. What can I say? I mean, it's $1,500, and that includes the shipping wherever you are in the 48 states. So it's not completely out of range when you're talking about price. And again, to me, it's unique. It doesn't look like anything else out there. And I think you probably figured out by now, standing out is something that I don't mind doing or breaking out of the box. I don't like to live in the four squares, so this kind of seems to fit my personality as well. I think you're going to love it.
I like that about you too, Greg. I think that's and being a girl, and this sounds totally vain, but sometimes I'll look at a grill and I'll think, now how would that look on my patio? And that's just like a patio bling type thing for me. I mean,
it happens.
At the end of the day, I have to stare at it when I walk outside. I want it to match and look good. So I'm not going to lie that the way they look, that's part of my opinion as well, because it is what it is.
And, it is kind of a conversational piece, as I think you'll get to know, too, because I'm sure you have a lot of people asking you about it when you're down there. We're talking with Robyn Lindars, the Grill Girl. Again, you can find her at grillgirl.com. Girl is GRRRL.com, so make sure you spell it right, or you can just link through the post-show notes here. Robyn, always appreciate the time. We'll look for you again next month.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And just as a quick shout out, I am looking for contributors for Grill Girls. So if you have a recipe you want to share, I always need really good content and a decent photo, because it's hard to pull a bunch of awesome recipes out all the time. So, and I know you guys are all really good cooks. So if you want to share something and be published, shoot me an email, robyn@gmail.com. And y'all have an awesome night.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Robyn. There she is. Robyn Lindars joining us here on the show. Again, grillgirl.com with 3 R's in the middle there, GRRRL.com. All right, little